Hi, my name is Mike Drost. I'm sorry I can't be with you in person today, but I'm really excited to be talking to you about the topic of weather as it relates to aviation. Let me take a quick step back and tell you a little bit about myself and how I came to be talking to you today. Again, my name's Mike. I'm 46 years old. I happen to have 13-year-old twin boys who are probably just a couple years younger than you. For me, flying is a second career. I spent about 20 years in the financial industry. And at the end of the conclusion of that career, I was trying to think about what I was passionate about, what I wanted to do next. And I thought about scuba diving, which is something I love, but there's not a lot of opportunity to scuba dive in the Midwest. So I selected aviation. I had gotten my private pilot's license a couple years before as a hobby, and then I came here to Lyft to finish my training, and now I'm happy to be a certified flight instructor here at Lyft. I'm thankful now that I get to teach others how to fly and help them pursue their own dreams. Sometime soon, I'll be off to Republic Airways to begin my next career as an airline pilot, and then I'll hopefully get more opportunities to go scuba diving as well. I've been asked to share my favorite travel destination. I really like going to Europe. I've been to Italy and to France, and I get to go to Portugal next summer for a friend's wedding. What I think is great about aviation is it makes those places around the globe a little bit more accessible to us. So if we choose, we can become citizens of the world. So now onto my session topic, which is weather. Weather is such a big topic, we could probably spend all day talking about it. As a pilot, you get to become, in some respects, a mini meteorologist. I like weather so much, I even dressed my twins up as a weatherman in a tornado for Halloween a few years ago. Today we're going to focus on two subtopics that affect us as pilots: wind and clouds. We've also got a few activities planned to help bring these concepts to life. In its simplest form, wind is just air in motion. It is important because it is one of the causes of weather, along with the heating of the earth from the sun. We measure wind according to strength, or its speed and direction. Wind is important to us as pilots because it can dramatically impact the performance of our airplanes that we fly, the decisions we make, and our experiences both as pilots and passengers. As pilots, we categorize wind as either a headwind, a tailwind, or a crosswind. A headwind is a wind that is blowing into us. When we fly, we always try to take off or land into the wind. A headwind can help us generate more lift, which is one of the four forces of flight, because it increases the airflow over our wings. This can allow us to take off and land on shorter runways. A tailwind is a wind that pushes us from behind. Conversely, it decreases lift and can increase our takeoff, roll, or landing distance, and sometimes pretty dramatically. A tailwind can increase our landing distance by sometimes up to about 50%. So if we need about 2,000 feet of runway to land, in a no-wind condition, if we have a tailwind, we might need closer to 3,000 feet. A headwind or tailwind can also affect our airplane's ground speed. This also makes a difference in travel times when we are flying as pilots or passengers. A headwind causes us to go slower, and a tailwind can cause us to go faster. Winds most often flow in the U.S. from west to east. For example, you may have experienced this if you've ever flown from here to California in a jet. It might take about 4 hours to fly there because we have a headwind, but only 3 hours to fly back because of a tailwind. This is because of the effect of the wind, and it's usually stronger the higher up you go in altitude. The third type of wind I want to mention briefly is a crosswind. And just as the name implies, it hits our plane from the side instead of the front or the back. You may have experienced something like this on the ground. Have you ever traveled in a bus or a van or an SUV on the highway and you feel like you're getting blown to the side or almost feel like you might tip over? Crosswinds can give us lots of trouble when trying to land an airplane because they blow us around as we try to touch down on the runway. Crosswinds can impact our route of flight also and can push us off course if we don't make heading corrections to counteract it. Now it's time for our first activity. Let's build a weather vane so we can tell from what direction the wind is blowing. For this activity, you'll need a pencil with an eraser, 2 small pieces of cardstock, about 4 inches by 4 inches, a straw, a pin, and a stapler. First, cut the 2 pieces of cardstock into a square and a triangle. Next, staple the square into one end of the straw and staple the triangle into the other end. Then use your fingers as a fulcrum to find the balance point of the straw. Once the balance point is found, push the pin through the straw and insert the pin into the eraser. Next, label north, south, east, and west on the paper plate. Then, stick the pointed end of the pencil through the paper plate and into the ground. Finally, watch how the wind blows the weather vane to see the direction the wind is coming from. Now that we know which direction the wind is blowing, we as pilots can use that information to help us select the best runway to use for takeoff or landing, and also help us calculate our travel time and how much fuel we might need to safely complete a flight. Now on to clouds. I'm not talking about the iCloud or cloud computing in this case, but rather 4 different types of clouds as it relates to weather: stratus, cumulus, cumulonimbus, and cirrus. Clouds are large collections of tiny droplets of water or ice that are so small and light that they can float in the air. Cirrus clouds are the most common of the high clouds, and they usually exist at about 18,000 feet or higher in altitude. They are white and wispy, unfortunately like my hair is probably going to be sometime in the next few years. And their appearances usually mean that weather will be changing in the next 24 hours. Stratus clouds are lower clouds that exist at 6,500 feet in altitude or below, and usually cover almost the whole entire sky. Those gray, cold days in winter where you can't see any blue sky and you want to stay in bed all day, those are the hallmark of stratus clouds. Cumulus clouds are the clouds that look like big clumps of white cotton. They are flat on the bottom and billowy on top. They are often called fair weather clouds and usually accompany sunny days. A type of cumulus cloud that is often hazardous to airplanes is called a cumulonimbus cloud. They can be very large in size and are considered thunderstorm clouds. They are associated with strong storms, heavy rains, lightning, hail, and even tornadoes. We are required to fly at least 20 miles from them because of the turbulence and very strong winds that can accompany them, especially downdrafts that can be very dangerous to aircraft. For our second hands-on activity, let's see if we can make a cloud. For this, you are going to need a jar with a lid, 1/3 cup of hot water, ice, and hairspray. First, pour hot water into the jar. Stir the water around to heat up the sides of the jar. Next, flip over the lid and place it upside down on top of the jar. Add several ice cubes on the lid and let them sit for about 20 seconds. Then, remove the lid and quickly spray some hairspray into the jar. After that, place the lid with the ice still on it back on top of the jar. Finally, watch a cloud form. I really enjoyed telling you a little bit about wind and clouds and how they can impact us as pilots. Weather is such an important topic in aviation, and we do a lot of weather research before every flight to make sure we can conduct that flight safely. I hope you have a great day and that you'll come out and visit us at Lift Academy sometime soon.